Hey gang! So I am continuing with my self-appointed task of working my way through my wool interrupted fibers. So far we've done the Shetland, which was a gray tan. So today I want to work with this Norwegian. Never worked with it before, don't know anything about it except that it's gray and I have 4 ounces of it. I want to spin this up and then I want to over dye it so we can see the effects you can get using gray. So I have grabbed one of 2 Spinner's Bibles. These are my constant resources, and I don't know if you can tell by looking at the spines, but they're very well loved, well flipped through, well used, well worth the money. This one was, let's see, this one was $27.50 US. This one doesn't have a price on the outside. $35 US. So for a combined, what, 60 bucks, you're going to get information that you will constantly use. These are not just sit on the shelf and look pretty. These are use 'em books. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the index at the back, which is always handy to have. And we're going to look up Norwegian. Norfolk, North County. There is no Norwegian. Oh no. This is terrible. What are we going to do? All right, so this is where we get into, is it Norwegian or is it just from Norway? And their sheep have a different name. So let's consult the Google machine. All right, so apparently, if it is a Norwegian wool, labeled a Norwegian wool, and is gray, silky, and lustrous. Yeah, I would think so. This feels like a long wool. It is likely Norse Pelso. Obviously, no one can have a listing for every sheep on the planet. It's just not possible. So there is a possibility. No listings. So we will have to wing it on this one. So what we're going to assume this is a type of long wool. So what I'm going to do is, this is a fairly coarse fleece. So I'm going to assume it's some kind of longish wool, which that's staple length. I'd say that's a fairly long wool indeed. And because it is relatively coarse, I'm guessing in the spinning, if we spin it too much, we're going to end up with a really ropey yarn. Now I can either work with that or I can try to minimize it. I'm thinking, why don't we do a relatively thick spin? So we'll go for about a worsted weight singles, low twist. I'm just wondering if I want to ply it with something else, with like a mohair or something thin to just kind of wrap it. But I don't want anything with color because I want to over dye it. I have mohair singles galore in about a lace weight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to spin this into a fairly thick low twist singles. Then I will ply it with the mohair and then we will dye it all. Because the mohair is going to take the dye differently than this will take it. The colors will be brighter, so the wrap will look different. And because we're using 2 different weights on the plying, that's our plan. Whew, look at that. We got a plan. So I am going to give that a go. So I'll check in with you periodically while I'm spinning, and then we will hit the dye pots. So come on along, let's go on another adventure. So I'm spinning this Norwegian wool in a nice thick low twist single. Because it is a fairly coarse fiber, if I go too thick or too twisty, it's just going to become string. So you can see it's very low twist and it makes it very soft and flexible. So in order to keep my twist very low, I will work, like generally I sit way back here when I'm spinning. So I will work like right next to the orifice. I spin slowly, I treadle slowly, and I just take big chunks of the fiber, bigger than I would normally take. Just basically draft it up and just shove it right in that orifice. Just get it onto the bobbin quick, fast, and in a hurry so you're not adding too much twist. You basically want just enough to hold the fiber together. Oh, this is the problem with going over the end of your bobbin. When it gets into that break band, it'll just stop it dead. So if your yarn breaks, when you go to thread it back through, get past the part that's not spun very well, fold it back on itself to let it ply back, and it'll make it easier to rethread your wheel. Otherwise, you could, when you go to pull it through the orifice, it might just keep breaking and breaking because it's losing twist going farther and farther back, and it'll just drift apart on you. So if you fold it in half before you feed it back through, that keeps that twist from escaping. Then once you have it fed back through and you've repositioned your hook, if that's what caused it, then you can just quickly get your twist back in it and get back to spinning. So spinning thick is not hard. Just take a bigger chunk of fiber. And like I said, if you want low twist, work right up next to that orifice and just get it onto your bobbin as quick as possible so it only adds a little bit of twist. So you can see I'm still getting a fair bit of twist in there because my feet are too fast. My feet are always too fast. Increase my uptake a bit. But working next to the orifice is the best way to keep your twist low. Now the other thing I could have done too is I could have switched to my plying head and used my largest wheel to slow it down even more, but I find spinning singles on the plying head is rather difficult. I prefer using my regular head. So I just have to force myself to slow my feet down and work right next to that orifice. Let's see how it's looking now. Better, much better. So you get that very open, relaxed ply back to keep it from becoming string. And using a thick single also will help you keep it from getting string because just the thickness of the fiber itself is going to help keep that soft. All right, I have this lovely mohair core that I usually use as a core wool. It's a lace weight. Get that lovely halo. And I have my low twist thick singles. Now, as I was looking at it, I was like, I can't remember if I spun that S or Z. Well, because this is multicolored, you can definitely see that this is S. But when you do your ply back, you can clearly see that it is Z. So now you know that if you ply back, it's going to have the angle of twist of the opposite way it was spun. So we know S will ply back Z. So S, S, we need to ply Z. Now because I have two singles of wildly different weights, it's going to spin up differently. So let's have a look. Here's how it's coming out. So the thicker single is tending to wrap around the mohair. And it's giving it like a core look. It's going to be hard to make a balanced yarn. It is entirely possible. But I'm liking the look of that. Now when I dye this, it's going to look cool because the core, what's becoming almost a core, is going to be brighter colors than the over-dyed gray. We could also take our mohair and do more of a wrap by pulling it out to the side, altering the angle. We can change how it wraps on to that thicker single. The tension you hold your yarn and the way you wind it on when you're plying can change the effect you get. So let's see how that looks. It's much more balanced and it's a lighter wrap and it's keeping it from getting too stiff from the Norwegian fiber. And I think I like that, but we're going to try one more way. I'm going to hold my core straight out from the orifice and I'm going to wrap on with the thicker ply. Now I don't want to come in straight from the side because then it'll just slide around. So I'm using more like a, I don't know, what is that, 45-degree angle? All right, let's have a look at what that looks like. Ooh, it's very textured. I like that. Oh, I quite like that. Makes for a very textured yarn, and we know I love texture. But I think the best for balance, oh my gosh, I should cable that. Look at that. Oh, that would be an amazing cabled yarn. The things I think of later. All right. I think for this particular one, because while I like the look of that, it does tend to slide around. I think what I'm going to go with is I'm going to go with my core straight out from the orifice and I'm going to use the mohair as a wrap. I could even go with an auto wrap and just let it wind on however it wants. Let's see how that looks. Oh, I really like that actually. Just letting it wrap on however it wants. And it's making for a really nice soft yarn. So instead of doing the auto wrap then, I will just do this. And I got to work close to the orifice because I don't want to lose too much twist. And I'm just back and forth. It's making little knots sometimes and sometimes not. I'm doing a fake auto wrap with my hand. Oh yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And it's giving a little more structural integrity to the yarn because I'm taking, as I'm doing the S twist, I am actually taking some of the twist out of my low twist single. So that could cause it to just fall apart. I don't want that, so I will just keep doing this. I'm digging it big time. Sweet. All right, so now I know what I'm going to do. I'll finish plying this up and get it skeined off on the niddy noddy. And then we will take this one to the dye pot. So we're going to do some more oven dyeing with this Norwegian fiber that I've wrapped with a mohair yarn. I've got a little bit of BFL mixed with sea cell. Now I don't know if the sea cell is going to take the dye, so I'm curious to see what will happen here. If you see the camera vibrating, that's because Bobo is down below nuzzling the tripod. Bobo, what are you doing, you little goofball? Kitty cameo. He's my little sweetie. He just always wants to be where I am. We're going to dye this fiber. So we will start with some red. If you hear all the crashing and bashing, that's Bobo. He's doing his daily parkour. All right, let's just get my red. You know, it's really a good thing that I live alone because if I had a partner, they would probably be freaking out over the dye I have on the kitchen counter right now. Oh, this one comes out quick enough. Baba is ridiculous. I also should have put on gloves because I'm going to have dyed hands for days. But oh well. I'll live with it. I have the oven preset to 350 and I will bake this for about 20 minutes. I'll check it after 10 minutes to make sure it's not drying out. And then we'll check it again at 20 minutes and see how the fiber is exhausting. And if we need to, we'll add some more citric acid or some more fiber or whatever we need to get the dye to exhaust. All right, it's off to the oven and we'll see how this goes. 20 minutes in the oven is up. That's for another video. You don't get to see it. Actually, you've probably already seen that one, but really curious to see how it looks because the mohair was white, Norwegian was gray, and I want to see how they took the dyes. Well, let's have a peek. Ooh. Have a look around. Make sure our dye bath has exhausted. Oh, there's red in there still. Ooh, there's a lot of red in there still. All right, let's mix this up a bit. So the blue is completely exhausted. The big surprise, the red has not. Now there's a fair bit still in the water. So I think what I'm going to do, sprinkle a little bit of citric acid over that. Just kind of mix that in. And I'm going to pop that back in the oven for another 5 minutes. Then I will take it out and I will just let it cool in the pan. And the rest of that dye should exhaust. But I got to say, so far, I'm quite enjoying doing this in the oven. This is like quick and easy. And it seems to be working really, really well. So this may become my go-to dyeing method because it's really cool. I like it. I'll be back. All right, so the yarn has cooled in the pan. I have it in for its first wash. And you can see that there's really no color bleed through. Maybe a tiny bit of blue. I'm just washing it with Pert Plus. This stuff will strip off any loose dye like you would not believe. You can rinse it and think it's clear, put it in a little bit of this, and it'll just rip that color right out of there. So I'm thinking it just needs one rinse and then it can go to dry. But I wanted to show you if you can see how that mohair took the color differently than the gray Norwegian. Here's the spot. You can see how the lighter portions are the mohair and then the gray took it the dye differently. I think it's a really nice effect. So there is just a smidge of red in there, so I'm going to give it another rinse. There are little bits that did not get dyed. I'm not terribly worried about those at the moment. This is the white. So you can see even on white, it's not a really intense color. There we go, clear water. And I will spin that out and put it out to dry. And we will come back when it's dry and finish up this video. All right, time for the big reveal. This is the Norwegian 3D. Ooh. Ooh. Canadians might be the only one who gets that. Second City TV. First of all, I'm going to show you our white sample. So this is BFL and C-cell. So this was white fiber. And the C-cell apparently does not take the acid dye. I'm guessing from looking at this because you can see the white in it. But nonetheless, very pretty. So when I did the Norwegian, I ended up making a thick low twist singles that I then wrapped with a thin mohair yarn. And this is the end result. So you can see from the white how I'd say like deepens the color. It makes it richer. Like you compare these two and this one is so much richer because it was dyed on a gray fiber. But the really cool thing about this stuff is that mohair over top, which was white to start and has a shine. So we're getting that real pop of color wrapping around the gray. And when you look at the blue, the mohair glows in that. And I'm intensely curious to see how that's going to work up. What's it going to look like in a project? Because I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. Now, I wasn't careful enough in my dyeing. As you can see, I have places where the gray is still showing through. I'm fine with that. It doesn't particularly bother me, especially when I look at how this blue came out. I can't get over how this mohair is like a glowing wrap around this deep, rich blue. Again, same batch as this white fiber. Everything was treated the same. Same soak, same pan, same heat. Everything was the same. But look at the difference in how the color turns out. The gray just brings such a richness to it. And you may think like if you dye on a gray, it's not going to show up. Well, heckin' yes, it does. Look at that. It's so pretty. I'm really glad I did this little experiment because I've been wanting to over dye gray yarn for a long time. So this was the Norwegian wrapped with the mohair and then over dyed. It's so pretty. And that was the white. It's just amazing the differences you get just by starting with a colored yarn. So I hope you enjoyed this little experiment. If you like this, do the stuff down below because I do stuff like this all the time. Thanks for joining me, guys. Bye.